It come. And it come would be Kevin Lynch, analyzes the Howl for Bally's, former Mr. Basketball in the state of hockey, and played with, among others, Grandmama, Muggsy Bogues, and Steph's dad, Del Curry, who used to double as Morris Day at First Avenue after Charlotte would come to town to make some supplemental income.
I always love that. Del used to bring Seth and Steph to practice occasionally. And so I remember Steph when he was a 5-year-old little kid. After we'd get done practicing, both his sons are out there shooting around with Dad. It was pretty cool. So to see what has kind of taken place in the Curry family is very interesting.
The Timberwolves are playing better and more dominating than any team in the playoffs right now.
Yeah.
As of right now, they're the best in show, and it's not even a debate. OKC might be a little bit of a debate with what they did to New Orleans without Zion. When or how does this rampage stop? I just set you up to say it doesn't.
I don't know what to say about what's going on here. I mean, I don't think anybody really saw this coming.
Join the club.
Yeah, they are completely dominating this Denver to the point where the Nuggets on Friday night, instead of number one, they need to look in the mirror.
Right.
I mean, that's how one-sided this has been through 2 games in their own freaking building. So it's like they got to look at themselves and ask themselves some questions before they focus on trying to stop Edwards or whatever you're going to do against the Wolves.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
after the first 2 games, Mike Malone has said, well, he got strong with it last night, but he's like, I don't like my team's body language.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's right now they don't know what they're doing. And credit the Wolves. I think this Wolves defense is better than what even me that watched every single game this year. I know you watch almost all the games or whatever. Nobody saw this coming as far as just kind of finding this groove. And I was kind of thinking about it this morning after I got up, Paul. I was like, where did this come from? And to me, this is kind of what the Edwards effect, kind of his will, like when Jordan was winning championships with the Bulls, and Jordan was really hard on some of his Bulls teammates back in those days. But what he did do is he kind of pulled everybody up with him. And Edwards is kind of doing that. Edwards is way better with his teammates than Jordan ever was with those guys back in those days. But I think this kind of starts with Edwards' will to win.
Yeah.
The commitment that Edwards has when he's your best player to defense, and he's pulling everybody up with him. And this has been impressive, and I don't know when it stops.
Or how
it stops.
Because human nature gets to win, and they will face some form of flurry where the calls, but like game 1 against Denver, they're up 18-4. Well, then Denver fires back like champions do, and they take the lead. So they took that human nature punch and still bounced. I mean, that last night was one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defensive performances in the history of Minnesota Timberwolves basketball.
Yes.
And that includes Kevin Garnett teams.
Right, absolutely. I mean, I was looking at the stat sheet this morning. So the Wolves turned the ball over, I think, 12 times. That's pretty good. That's pretty low against a pretty good defense by Denver. They gave up 2 points. 2 points.
Jeez.
Denver got 2 points off of those 12 turnovers.
Is that busting butt back?
Yes. Yeah. It's just it's commitment. It's playing together. They had 18 offensive rebounds the Nuggets did last night. I don't know if you're looking at the stat sheet right there. 18 offensive rebounds. The Wolves gave up 8 points off of offensive rebounds.
Wow.
That's extremely low. So what's happening, Paul? I mean, one way to look at this is when a shot goes up for Denver and it's missed, they get an offensive rebound. Watch the Wolves defense get organized and how quickly they get organized and work together to kind of settle in. Bad defensive teams at this level give up an offensive rebound, and then it's disorganization, and they can't find a guy. Then the ball moves just a little bit, and a team will score and get an open shot quickly. The Wolves are locking back in off of an offensive rebound given up, and it's impressive.
There's a clowning nature to the way they're playing right now. And what I mean is Anthony Edwards crosses over on and breaks down Reggie Jackson so badly, Reggie falls and Ant points at him. And he crossed over on Aaron Gordon game one, looking like Allen Iverson before he hit that second half J.
Yeah.
It's they're out there clowning the champions, man. So why is it so easy for them right now? It starts and stops with Edwards, right?
I think it does there. I think it's just a team that's together. There's good. Finch has said many times this whole season that the chemistry on this team is exceptionally good. Guys get along. They're committed to defense. Starts with Edwards, and it filters down to everybody else. And they're just on a roll right now, in a groove or something. And the Nuggets are back on their heels, and the Wolves. And look at Alexander Walker; he's just smiling as he's defending Jamal. Now Jamal Murray's got an injury; he's not 100%, but they've made him look pedestrian. I mean, they're just locking him up. They did the same thing with Porter Jr. last night after he had a decent game in game one shooting the ball, but it starts with defense, man, and it is impressive. Yeah, I mean, you could think that, I watch a lot of these playoff games the last chunk of years. This is about as good of a team defense that we've seen. I'm not going to say in the last 40 years or something, but the last 5-10 years, maybe so. I mean, they're in that conversation with what they're doing right now.
Kevin Lynch analyzes the Wolves for Bally Sports North. More on that conversation around the corner. The Wolves are up 2-0 on the champion Nugs. But first this.
The Fan, along with BigDeck.com, want to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. So go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword check, and you might win $1,000. Check at KFAN.com.
Kevin Lynch in studio. The opening show, the interview to open the show with lead assistant Micah Nori, with the montage coming up about 10-15 minutes from now. The Timberwolves, it's like they run the ball in a passing league. They play second to none defense in a league. Casuals are like, quote, I don't watch the NBA because they don't play any defense, end quote. What particulars of this stifling defense we are witnessing jump out to you?
Well, one thing is what I just talked about as far as what they do, how quickly the Wolves get locked in defensively after Denver, for example, gets an offensive rebound, how quickly you reorganize, and it happens within a second or two, and you're already in good defensive position. So that's one thing that I noticed. And then watch how much fighting over screens McDaniels, Alexander Walker, and Anthony Edwards, and even, I suppose, Monte Morris. He hasn't played as much Morris, but especially those three guys, how they're fighting over screens. And another thing, too, Paul, is how they're picking up Jokic dribbles the ball down the court quite a bit just to kind of initiate offense, and the Wolves are picking him up 60 feet away from the basket just to kind of work him a little bit. Let it so Towns is pressuring. Got two big dudes. One guy's pressuring Jokic, Towns is, or whoever. I don't think Gobert has done that as much, but they've mostly guarded Jokic with Reed, Towns, Anderson a little bit, and they're picking him up quickly just to kind of let him know I'm here. I'm going to make you work just a little bit. And that's been another thing. So they're pressuring, fighting over screens, and picking up like in the half-court pressure.
It turns out, mostly for yours truly, but maybe some listening, there was zero concern with Karl Anthony Towns into the playoffs. He's calm. He defends. He's patient with his low post moves. Dare we say it, but he's playing like a legit 2 option for a title-winning team, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for him is, and we've all watched him for 9 seasons now. It's crazy, but how quickly the time goes. But that was the thing: is can he calm down? Can he stop focusing on the referees? And you and I talked about this a couple weeks ago during the Phoenix series. Is they sat down as a team. They had clips. Finch and the coaching staff put clips together of, how many situations do we see during the season? 100 or more of Towns going to the basket, not getting the whistle. He's sprawled out on the floor. The opponent goes down the court 5-on-4, and he's focusing on the ref. Foul! Edwards was doing it too. And they showed these guys with, I'm sure, Anderson and Conley and some of the veteran guys talking to, guys, stop doing this. It doesn't work. They're not going to change the call. And just like for him, he's such an emotional guy that seeing him play in a calm fashion with emotions kind of in check, that's what he has to do now. The rest of his career, kind of move on from all this other crap and nonsense and just focus on playing. And so he's been calm, and that's really helped him. And that's been a good thing. It had to happen if they're going to make a deep run and make some noise.
Who do you like, OKC or Dallas? And if the Wolves advance, which squad poses a greater threat?
Oh, God, that's a tough question. I would say slightly Oklahoma City. I need, like I told you, I need to kind of look at how their games went against each other during the season. I haven't done that yet. But probably Oklahoma City. At the same time, who's the big dude that Dallas traded for? Gafford? Daniel Gafford at the trade deadline?
Yeah.
He helps them.
Yeah.
As a big guy, they needed another big guy, which they got in him. He's pretty good. He's a guy that's destroyed the Wolves when he was playing for Washington a bunch of games. So and then, of course, Irving and Doncic, they give you problems too. But I would say probably Oklahoma City over Dallas.
And lastly, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Not only was he on his game last night, cool story, right? Drafted 17th overall in 2019, ended up in New Orleans when Chris Finch was there. And Alexander Walker was a -16 in game one, and he turned it over more times in game one than he hit shots. Last night, he smothered Murray and Jackson, and everybody, he smothered everybody and was 4 of 7 from 3. He's a wonderful, wonderful reclamation project type story. What do you like about the pop he provides from the bench?
Well, all this saying that's gone around the last 10 years in the NBA, 3-and-D. He's like the poster boy for 3-and-D. Right. Plays good defense. I can't remember. In fact, think he's one of the great stories of this team all season, and you got a bunch of them. Obviously, with the guys that are starters, Edwards, Gobert and Naz Reid, and he's kind of been forgotten. Alexander Walker, how well he's played. It is a good story. He's a good example, Paul, of how guys get drafted. Guys are first-round picks. They all think they're going to come in and be scorers, and they're hoping they're going to turn into that. You float around the league a little bit. You haven't really found yourself, and then he gets in a situation here in Minnesota, actually like a throw-in player in the Conley trade. Everybody's focusing on Mike Conley. This guy has just quietly gone about his business, turned himself into. A guy like him comes to Minnesota and doesn't do this, in a year or two, he might be out of the NBA and forgotten.
Right.
Now he's going to have a 10, 12, 15-year career as long as he stays healthy because of what has happened here. So give that dude a lot of credit. Making threes and playing defense, and he seems like a good teammate too. So that's a big part of it.
Kevin, if you're around Monday and time permits, we'd love to have you back in after they sweep the Nuggets.
Sure. Games
Friday and Sunday. And if they sweep the Nuggets, Monday is going to be of the celebratory variety. And very curious to watch this OKC Dallas series to see which way that goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But that sounds good. Let me know on Monday.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Kevin Lynch analyzes the Wolves for Bally Sports North. The producer put together a fantastic montage involving last night's victory over the Nuggets, and that segued right into an interview with lead assistant Micah Nori, and all of that's next on KFAN.